Look who's joining me today. It's my predecessor, Wes Goldberg, hosted this show for I don't know how many years, but he also covered the Golden State Warriors for a number of years as a beat reporter. And this is why I'd love to get his insights, among many reasons, pertaining to the Golden State Warriors and the drama that's going on right now. Wes Goldberg joins me next. We're going to break down how the Warriors are doing in lieu of everything that's going on. Hopefully, it should be entertaining and fun and informative. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. You can follow Wes Goldberg, host of the Locked On Heat show, on Twitter at WC Goldberg. You can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, on Twitter at Dog Surf Roadshow. Wes, how are you doing, my man? Been a long time. How's the East Coast treating you? And what is your perspective on this Warriors fiasco that's going on right now?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Unfortunately, I wish it was under more fun circumstances. What a dramatic way to kind of start the season for the Warriors. My initial reaction is this is such a mess, man. Like, look, the Warriors have done a really good job of handling things in the past that have been a little dramatic, as well as you probably could hope for. But this is just, I feel like the way everything was handled from the beginning has just been a complete nightmare. I don't know that you could try to handle it in a worse way. I mean, really, the only thing that separates right now, like how the Warriors are handling this versus like what the New York Knicks would do, is just the fact that the Warriors won the championship a few months ago. But it feels like I don't know that there's a more dysfunctional franchise in the league at this moment than the Golden State Warriors, which is insane to say. Like, this is worse than anything that's gone on this whole offseason for any other team. Nothing is worse than what just happened with
I got to ask you to expand, though. Like, what are they doing that's so wrong, in your opinion?
Well, first of all, it feels like they are kind of throwing Jordan Poole under the bus. And despite all of the comments that they've made, I really don't care about what Bob Myers says or Steve Kerr says or Draymond Green says or Steph Curry's. I don't care what they say in a press conference setting when it comes to this. Actions speak louder than words. And just the fact that Bob Myers came out right away in the preseason to make a statement to the press in a press conference setting, it just smelled like a cover-up. Cover-up is a very strong word. It's a little inflammatory, so I don't mean to go that harsh on it, but that's what struck me as strange. And then the video obviously comes out, and you understand why they were taking it so seriously. I get it, but it just feels like here we go again with trying to just like cover it up for Draymond Green, trying to just help Draymond where it doesn't really feel like. And now they're launching this investigation into who leaked the video and all this stuff. And I'm like, wait, can we actually worry about the guy who just got punched in the face? Nobody cares about Jordan Poole in this whole instance. And I know they all came out and said, we Jordan Poole, like that's who our thoughts are with, but it doesn't really feel like that right now. It feels like all the actions that they've taken is being like, let's just try to tamper this down as much as possible. And by the way, doing that, they've inflamed the entire situation.
Yeah. There's two sides to this coin because I feel like the public sentiment strongly agrees with you, and maybe even privately amongst media members and players as well, that the team's handling this horribly, that Draymond, the act was borderline monstrous. But then I did a show last night with someone that you've interviewed and I've been on a show with as well, and that's Rick Barry. I do this other podcast called The Rick Barry Show. And I host this show with him, not really knowing what he's going to say about it. And his whole attitude is big effing deal. So what? Get his little words, get over it. And his stance is that this happens all the time, that yes, Draymond punched his teammate, but this is not an unusual occurrence. This is not an anomaly.
That's crazy. Did he see the video?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
No, that's crazy. I'm sorry. Look, I like Rick Barry. Like you said, I've talked to him many times. Maybe Rick Barry is punching teammates like that back in the day.
He hasn't.
You talk to players now, this is wild, right? Like, this is not this happens all the time in training camp. This is just being overblown by the media. That is not what this is. You talk to people who recently played in the league or are still playing in the league, and they're like, Oh, no, that's an MMA punch. That's a straight out of UFC punch to the jaw.
Right.
Everything that happened before that, getting in Jordan Poole's face and Jordan Poole shoving, all that happens in training camp or practice all the time. That part happens all the time. The punch to the jaw, that does not happen all the time. That's crazy.
You're absolutely right. I mean, look, I did a show yesterday with Kylan Mills, where I broached this to her and I broached this to you as well. Because look, I'm torn. I see both sides of it. I totally understand that the punch is egregious, man. It's a violent act. It's a horrible look. But then the other side of the coin is we really don't see a lot of what goes on behind the scenes. There are players that, yes, have said this is a horrible act. In fact, I'm going to play this clip from Pat Beverly in just a second because and interestingly enough, he was on Draymond Green's podcast, but they recorded that right before the video came out. So they didn't really have a chance to address it. But the other side of the coin is people like Kwame Brown coming out, Chris Childs coming out, saying this is regular. You know, I've had people at the college level have played NCAA Division I basketball tell me people have brought weapons to fights in practice, and that this is not really as crazy as it seems. Okay. I understand in a civilized society, you see that and you're going, dude, should not be commonplace. That should not be normalized. That should not be accepted. But then there's this other side of the coin where you have people saying, look, this is not as unusual as you might think it is. I don't know, man. Like, do you see the
unusual? Here's how we know it's unusual. Okay. Bob Myers came out and did a whole press conference about it. Steve Kerr has to come out and apologize for everybody about it. That's how we know it's not normal. If this happened all the time, Cyrus, before the video came out, they were doing all of this.
Yeah.
That's how we know it's not normal. Steve Kerr got punched in the face.
Yes.
Even he's like, this is not normal.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't care what Kwame Brown, Rick Barry, anybody has to say. If they want to say it's normal, fine. Maybe it's normal in your world. This is not normal in the world that we currently, and this is, by the way, not well, you couldn't do this in your office place, so it shouldn't happen in any. No, I understand that the NBA and being a real estate agent are very different things. Even so, you have the general manager and the head coach doing full-blown press conferences to apologize for you. If this happened all the time, we would not be getting those press conferences. This doesn't happen all the time anymore in today's NBA.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. And again, I can't, it's hard for me to sit here and just like disagree with anyone on this, but I can't disagree with you. Everything you said is valid. It's logical. It makes sense. I want to play this clip real quick from Pat Bev. I don't know what this show is. I see Barstool logos and I have mixed feelings about them as well, but I want to play this clip from Pat Beverly, the beginning of it, at least. This is on Beverly podcast. And he was asked about, the fight and the punch, given he was just on Draymond Green's show. Take a listen.
I know the NBA is going through this new media kind of thing.
So is that what I'm a part of now?
I don't know. Do you feel like you're part of it?
I don't know. I'm not out here punching people.
Are we going to get into it right away? You go on a show with Draymond Green on his podcast, and mere hours later, he's punching people. What did you say to him?
I don't know. I didn't say anything to tell him to go punch anybody. I was kind of, the plane flew in late. The original start time for the podcast was 5. We had to start at 5:30 because we got to the hotel pretty late. We had like a mandatory dinner at 6:30, so I was trying to cram like an hour in. I don't know if it was, because we didn't finish it that made him angry or...
Yeah, he did seem a little bit pissed towards the end of the show that you had to leave or something. Maybe you should have given him the full hour and Jordan Poole would be all right now.
Pretty much that was intense.
I can't believe that video got out.
Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me that two teammates fought each other. And you could probably...
That's surprising.
It does surprise you?
That should never happen.
At all?
At all.
Really?
No, that should never happen.
Has it ever happened on a team that you've been on?
No, not fights. Obviously, like anything, you argue, but fighting, no. I mean, we're professionals. You don't. That's the line you don't cross.
And now keep in mind, Pat Bev, the same guy who pushed really hard Chris Paul in the back during the middle of the game, says this. But yeah, I mean, this is the other side of it. Your thoughts on what Pat Bev just said?
I rest my case. If anybody's going to get into a fight with a teammate like this, it would be Pat Bev, wouldn't it? And he said, this never happens. I rest my case.
Fair enough. And in just a moment, I did not see the end of the podcast. I don't know what he was referencing there about Draymond being irritated, but I do want to ask you what's next. Ring Night's coming up. You've been a part of Ring Nights in terms of covering the team. I want to get your feedback on that and so much more. First, got to talk about a really long-time sponsor of this program, Built Bar. Wes, you host Locked On Heat. What do you normally say when you're promoting a Built Bar on your show?
Well, it's one of my go-to snacks after I work out. I'm on the wedding diet plan right now, so just
Nice.
trying to look good in the tuck. So Built Bar is low calorie, low sugar, low carbs, high in protein. So it's just a great way. And look, by the way, when you're on a wedding diet, most of the stuff you're eating doesn't taste great. But my Built Bar is my nice little treat on the day to day. So that's where I go. And I like all the fruit flavored ones, raspberry, orange, any strawberry that are covered in the chocolate. That's my go-to.
Dude, granola is my go-to. And I think Charles Barkley said it best. If it tastes good, don't eat it, right? If you're trying to lose weight. But Built Bar is fortunately that exception. And again, they're packed with protein, and the protein is made with collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently and provides tons of health benefits. You need something that tastes good and is good for you. Congrats, by the way, on the wedding, man. Coming up soon. I'm happy for you, brother. Go to built.com, use the promo code LOCK15 and get 15% off your order. Again, the promo code is LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. For your second listen, go check out the Ultimate Pro Basketball Preview 2022, a 6-episode extravaganza to get you ready for the NBA season. The local team experts and the NBA insiders of the Locked On Podcast Network and Odyssey, all combining into one ultimate NBA preview. Search for Ultimate Pro NBA Preview 2022 on your Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow Wes Goldberg on Twitter at WC Goldberg. Speaking of that 6-episode extravaganza that we all just produced together, to me, the Miami Heat are utterly disrespected time after time again. I think the Heat are a fantastic team. I thought they had a really legitimate shot at beating the Celtics, and I was kind of disappointed they didn't. You were not included in the panel for the contenders.
Right.
What is your thought on that, man? Like, why do people sleep on the Heat so much, dude?
Because they don't have that A1 superstar, even though Jimmy Butler has proven time after time that he is that guy who can get you to the playoffs, but he doesn't put those numbers up in the regular season. Jimmy Butler in the playoffs and Jimmy Butler in the regular season are different. Honestly, man, I'm so over it. I don't care. I don't care what tiers our Locked On network overlords put the Miami Heat in. I'm so over it. I really don't care. I'm just like, just put me on a podcast. I'll talk about the Heat. You want to lump me in with Philadelphia and those teams? That's fine. I don't care.
Oh, that's cool, dude. You make me laugh, man. What's going to happen on ring night, dude? It's literally, we're recording this on October 11th. It is a week from today the season starts. I'm still in shock over that. Just another sign of time flying. But, dude, ring night is going to be awkward. Rick Barry thinks everyone's just going to forget about everything that happened. The crowd's going to cheer. We'll see Draymond on opening night. I don't even know what consequences he's going to face from this. The team hasn't announced anything. What are your thoughts on ring night, dude? What's going to go on there?
First of all, like you said before, I've covered ring night. I think ring night is stupid. I don't think I hate it for any team, not just the Warriors. I'm sorry that this is going to get me in trouble. I'm like the no fun police here. It takes so much time out of the night. Just get it over with. Do it another time. I sell separate tickets. Like, it's like, hey, Joe Lakeup, you want more business ideas for more free money? You're going to have to make more money to pay the luxury tax for this team. Just do a separate thing. Just do a separate. I don't know if that's allowed by the NBA, but I hate it. I hate ring night, and I don't really care what happens on it. And consequences. Something's got to give with Draymond. I can kind of see this going anyway. I could see the Warriors kind of doing an about face and being like, let's just make this not a big deal and just not suspend him at all. But I just have a hard time seeing that. I mean, this is arguably the worst thing that Draymond Green has done, right? And I know that I know that Warriors fans think that he cost him a championship in 2016 when he punched LeBron. That we remember the Kevin Durant thing. We remember even the blow up in 2016 in Oklahoma City with Steve Kerr in the locker room there.
Yes.
This is worse. Yes. This is worse by leaps and bounds because the LeBron thing wasn't his teammate, right? And we can argue whether or not it cost them a championship, but they still he still came back to that series, and the Warriors still didn't win a game in that series. That's just not necessarily how things work. The Kevin Durant thing was really bad, but they also got to the finals that year, right?
Yeah.
And a lot, depending on who you talk to around the team back then, they already thought Kevin Durant was out the door anyway, which is kind of what precipitated the whole fight in the first place. Is that Draymond Green thought he was out the door anyway? The Steve Kerr thing, it's bad, but it's in the locker room and it's the coach. And it's just a little bit different when it's a coach as opposed to a younger teammate. This is knocking out a teammate who's 10 years younger than you or attempting to knock him out, punching him in the face. I just don't. I think that this was different. This was so different. And as much as the Warriors have tried to cover up and apologize for Draymond in the past and just sort of dismiss his actions as, well, this is what you get, Draymond Green. You don't get Draymond Green, the great competitor, the heart and soul of the team, if not for some of this other messy stuff on the side. This is different. This crossed a different kind of line. And so
yeah.
I think ultimately they're going to have to suspend him because, again, you can't just not, because what does that say to Jordan Poole? To your question about ring night, I don't know. Does Jordan Poole have a contract extension by the time ring night comes around? Because that's going to matter. Is Draymond Green there for ring night, or is he suspended? I mean, all this stuff is going to matter. I really don't know where they come down on this.
It is fascinating, man. If you were covering this yourself, if you were still in the Bay Area covering this, how would you cover it? Like, what kind of questions maybe that you haven't heard asked would you ask, or do you think the media's done their job and this just needs to play out now based on the team?
I haven't been as plugged into like the specific questions that have been being asked at these press conferences, but as far as I know, look, when something like this happens, it doesn't really matter what you're going to ask, at least in my experience. You can say, hey, what's going to happen with Draymond? Well, we're going to deal with that. We're still kind of talking about things internally. All right, you can ask that 15 different times in 15 different ways. You're going to get 15 different answers to that, but basically the same answer to that question. So
yeah,
I don't know that the media has done anything that I wouldn't have done. But basically all you could do is report on the facts, talk to the people around the team and just try to figure out where things come down. But I think the Warriors are just as kind of confused about this as anybody else is. Like, they're just like, we don't really know what to do because, like I just said, this is unprecedented even for Draymond.
Dude, you're absolutely right, man. And the one thing you brought up that I think is very fair is and again, maybe like Kerr and the team is just in a pickle and they don't know what to say or do, but you're right. They haven't stood up for Poole, at least not enough. I'm with you on that because he is clearly the victim here. There is a victim in the story, and that's Jordan Poole. I do, by the way, think that he will get his extension before next week. The deadline for that, I think, is also the 17th. So if they don't get that done by then, they're going to have to wait till the offseason. But I do think the extension is going to come. I'm fascinated to see what comes of this. Part of me wonders if the team is just going to not do anything and just let this whole thing die down. Because there's a strong possibility from this show, you're going to get people in the comments saying, okay, I'm getting tired of this, move on. And that plays directly into what the team wants, right? Just let this thing play out and we move on.
If they win 10 of their first like 14 games or something, people will just move on. It'll be fine.
Right.
I don't think that Jordan Poole and Draymond Green will ever be the same after this. I just don't. And as I'm a big Jordan Poole fan, I was driving that Jordan Poole bandwagon. I called
Say that out loud, man. Say that out loud. You were like one of them in the fringe minority of people who thought Poole would make it in his rookie year when no one else did. Brag, bro. Brag.
No, I always like this feel for the game and whatever, but I liked his approach. I thought that, bringing Andre Iguodala in was going to be better for him than even for like Kuminga and Moody, and everybody was talking about how it's going to be so beneficial for those guys. I was like, no, Jordan Poole is the guy who's going to benefit from Iggy's presence. But I don't know how you bounce back from this. I think, look, we know that they're not going to pay everybody, right? We know this. Like, it's going to be one of Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Jordan Poole. One of them's got to go. Joe Lacob's basically already admitted it. If you had asked me a month ago or a week ago before all this stuff happened, who did I think was going to be on the outs? I thought it would be Jordan Poole. I just thought he was the biggest luxury. It would be the toughest one to lose because you hate to kind of abort ship when he's so young and so clearly talented and you don't really know what his ceiling is going to be. But also, he's the biggest luxury. You kind of have your starting backcourt. You really need Draymond. You really need Andrew Wiggins, who might be the most untradeable out of that entire group. But now I do wonder if the Warriors front office is like, you know what, we're just sort of sick of this Draymond thing, because this isn't the first time they've gotten sick of it, right? Bob Myers has had to talk Steve Kerr down from some of this Draymond stuff in the past. I don't think they were ever on the verge of trading him, but you do wonder after this kind of outburst and everything that just happened here, did they say, you know what, we just got to get rid of this guy? The problem is he's really important to this team. I'm not breaking news there, but I don't know that as good as Wiggins has been defensively, and as good as, Looney is, and as much as you like Wiseman and Kuminga and Moody, like, this defense falls apart without Draymond Green. Mm-hmm. And I don't really know what it is. And And as much as we love Jordan Poole, like he feels more luxury than essential at this point if you're really trying to go after championships. So I really don't know what they do, but it just feels like this Draymond thing is going to matter long term somehow.
Especially if Jordan Poole doesn't let it go. You're right. I've been saying if this affected Jordan Poole to the point where he's like, I don't like this guy anymore. I don't want to be on the team with him. The Warriors have to move on from Draymond. You can't take his side in this, And it doesn't hurt the Warriors, by the way, that Draymond's play is starting to decline. That back injury is never going to go away fully. It's a herniated disc in your back, man. Outside of surgery, that doesn't just heal itself. So
you can use this for rationalizing a lot of things. And Draymond is untouchable, right? Previous to all this, he was untouchable, part of the big three, core, heart and soul of the Warriors, all this stuff. But if you in the back of your mind, if you're the Warriors front office and you're like, boy, it would be kind of being a little nice to maybe get out from this Draymond thing and not give him like another big payday. You could start rationalizing your way into that situation. Now, I'm not reporting anything in terms of where their thinking is.
We're talking.
I really do believe that they are still trying to figure this stuff out. But like this is going to matter in some way, shape, or form. Like this doesn't just not matter.
Totally with you. In just a moment, we're going to finish things up. I'm curious to know what your thoughts were on information leaking out, the importance of that, whether that matters, and also your thoughts on the young group, because there's a strong possibility players like Kuminga and Wiseman are going to need to take over Draymond Green's responsibilities, and maybe they'll handle it. I don't know. We'll find out in just a moment. First, I had to give some love to a longtime sponsor of this program, PrizePicks. I love them. This is one of my favorite sponsors because they gave all of us a little cash to play with, to promote. And I'm just making money, dude. I cannot wait for the season to start again. And the premise, do you play PrizePicks, by the way, Wes? Have you gone on board?
I do. I'm glad you won a bunch of money. I took that money and just lost it immediately. I just lost all that free money. Not for that.
Did you put more money back in because you were hooked? No?
I did, actually, yeah.
So PrizePicks, for people that aren't familiar with how it works, you pick 2 to 5 players, and it's all about over-unders. Is Stephen Curry going to score more or less than 23.5 points, for example? Is Draymond Green going to punch more or less one people? For example, I kid about that. That's not actually one of the things you can bet on. But the point is, you're picking 2 to 5 different over-unders individually, and if you win money, and a decent amount of it. It's legal in California, and one of my absolute favorite parts, besides the entries being made in 60 seconds or less, is that it provides safe and fast withdrawals. If you want to get your money out, it's like that. You don't have to deal with weird like wire services or any of that stuff. It just comes right back in your account. Download the PrizePicks app. Go to PrizePicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match. Again, if you use a promo code Locked On and you deposit up to $100, they'll match that. So if you deposit $100, you'll see $200 in your account. That's a promo. Don't forget to enter the promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match of up to $100.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. For finishing things up with Wes Goldberg, host of Locked On Heat. Again, you're a freelance journalist, formerly with the San Jose Mercury News or the Merc News, whatever they call it these days. I've seen I love the fact you got a byline for the Ringer, man. Congrats to that. I hope I see more content there from you. What about this league thing, man? Is it a big deal? I mean, I can understand the team and Kerr being really pissed because you want trust in your organization. You want to know that there are people in there who aren't telling people outside of your organization what's going on. And look, the video was bad enough, but even before the video, I mean, someone leaked that Draymond had punched Jordan Poole to begin with. So that's what makes me think the leak is within the Warriors organization and not maybe with the NBA. What your thoughts on the leak?
I'll go back to what I said earlier. This is the only difference right now between the Warriors and the New York Knicks is that the Warriors just won the championship a couple months ago. Like this is Knicks level of leakage. This is the leakiest stuff. And I look, I really enjoyed reporting on the Warriors. I still enjoy talking to people in that organization. They're awesome people. They know basketball. They're a lot of fun to just talk to, but they do talk. And it's usually fine. It's usually okay because they have, you talk to everybody in that organization and they all kind of say roughly the same thing. Like it's from top down, it's sort of the same mission statement all the time. And that to me was always a positive part of their culture. And that they never shied away from answering questions. Steve Kerr is probably one of the most honest coaches in a press conference setting in the entire NBA. And I thought all this was very helpful. It all kind of spoke to the organizational culture that they have set there. I don't know if this is related to any of that. I don't know who leaked the video. They're still trying to figure it out. Everybody's still trying to figure out. I don't know who leaked the Draymond Green punched Jordan Poole in the first place, like you said, before the video even came out.
Yeah.
I don't know where that came from. But loose lips sink ships. Is that just a cliche to say? And this is obviously on a level where I think they always knew that they were a very talkative front office and they were mostly okay with it. But obviously the way they've responded to this has crossed the line even internally where they're like, because I don't know that I've seen grainy practice video footage of anything recently. Like, I don't know the last time, like, let alone a punch. Like, even like Ben Simmons shooting threes from the corner in a closed Brooklyn Nets practice. Like, we don't see this kind of stuff. Like weird, like Bigfoot footage stuff. So just the fact that something like this got out is a problem, and you really just don't want the foundation that they worked so hard to start to crumble. And I don't mean to be hyperbolic about it, but like the way that this whole front office has responded to this is I'm reacting to their reaction on this, and they are reacting very strongly.
They are, absolutely. You know, I'm getting sick and tired of talking about this, honestly, just because it has nothing to do with basketball. It's just all drama. And how do you think about this team as a whole, man? Like, I mean, unfortunately, this does play a part in basketball because what if Jordan Poole did not seem affected by this in the last preseason game, which was a very positive sign. He scored 18 points in a quarter, 25 for that game. Let's say this drama does eventually subside and we're judging the Warriors based on what we see on paper and what we see on the court. Are they going to repeat as world champions? Is their time up? What are your thoughts on the team? And especially the youngsters, man, because this is now year 2 of Kuminga, Moody, year 3 of Wiseman. Your thoughts on all that?
First of all, I think the regular season is going to be one big experiment. I think BetOnline has their over-under at like 52.5 wins.
Correct.
And that's a good number. If I'm trying to make a little money, I might take the under on it, only because I could see them just being like, you know what, we really don't care about the regular season. All we care about is the playoffs. But we also know that like Kuminga, Moody, and Wiseman, as much as you might love their upside, they're not ready right now to contribute in the playoff run. They just aren't. And so get them as many minutes in the regular season, let them play through mistakes and things like that. So that's kind of where I've been with the Warriors. But look, I think they're right there with the Clippers, and I have the Nuggets up there as sort of the favorites in the Western Conference. Those are my top 3 teams in the West.
No Grizzlies.
No, not the Grizzlies. I think the Grizzlies, I love their future. I love their outlook. I think Ja Morant's the dude, but it's just, I don't think they're just like Minnesota. I think we got to just wait for Anthony Edwards to become that guy too. Okay. Great young guards. I just think they're a little young right now. So yeah, I've got the Warriors there with the Clippers and the Nuggets, but I don't know. Can you play Draymond and Jordan Poole together? Can you? I don't really know. This is yeah, I don't know that they're going to repeat. It felt like they won at the right time. I mean, they have to at some point. Yeah. But I mean, they're going to play a lot of Jordan Poole and James Wiseman together, and you can't really put Wiseman and Draymond on the floor at the same time. Well, you don't really want to, especially not in a second unit if you're going to try to find places for Draymond to rest. So that might be the 1-2 punch that Steve Kerr ends up going with. We've seen them run a bunch of pick and roll already together. But I thought last year was the time to win, man. Like, I really do. I thought that was if Steph was only ever going to get one more. I'm going to try to say this so this makes sense. If he was ever only going to get one more after the dynasty run, last year felt like it would be the one, because you got the Clippers limping, the Lakers are a mess, Brooklyn imploded, Chris Middleton gets hurt for Milwaukee during their playoff run. That would have been, to me, the biggest challenge for the Warriors in the NBA Finals. Would have been a Milwaukee, Giannis-led Milwaukee team. So last year, I'm not taking anything away from the Warriors as stuff happens, but like last year felt like the perfect time for the Warriors to get the last one, if that indeed ends up being the last one for this group. So because I think the West is absolutely stacked. Like, I think those are the top 3 teams, but like, how many teams are bad in the Western Conference? Like, wins are just not going to be easy to come by in the regular season.
That's the West is deep this year, man. You're absolutely right about that.
Way. Like, the entire league is deep. You've got like 4 teams in the Wembanyama sweepstakes. And by the way, that can change by January when teams start to really go in the tank. But but still,
it's gonna be like 10 plus teams going for that. And it's not just Wembanyama, by the way. It's also Scoot Henderson.
I like him a lot.
He's damn good too. I'll leave you with this, Wes. Do you think it's weird? What's your interpretation of the fact that since that initial press conference where Bob Myers, Kerr, and Curry all talked, that was before the video leaked. Since then, Steph has not talked to the press. Clay has not talked to the press. Jordan Poole has yet to speak to the press. That's obviously intentional, but is that the right decision? What are your thoughts on the fact that those three have stayed quiet?
I'm all right with it. We saw this back in the day when Kevin Durant was around. I can't remember exactly what happened, but Durant just basically didn't talk to the media for like I think it was 10 days or something like that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So it happens in the NBA.
Yeah.
It's fine. Generally speaking, the Warriors are, like I said before, they're really open. They're willing to talk about things. But I think they realize that they kind of screwed up the first round of talking about this stuff. So take a beat, take a breather, maybe let some of this die down. The last thing you want is for Draymond to start talking about it on his podcast. Yeah. I know that the Warriors really don't want him to talk about it on his podcast.
Correct.
And are actively telling him, do not talk about this on your podcast. But we also know that Draymond Green, Draymond Green might have Colin Cowherd in his ear from Volume Sports being like, you should totally talk about this on your podcast because this is going to be the #1 podcast of the year.
Oh my God. I love you, Wes. You can follow Wes Goldberg on Twitter at WC Goldberg. Anything else you want to promote, man, that I haven't mentioned?
Just tune in to Locked On NBA. I do the Friday show with Adam Mares from Locked On Nuggets, but tune in, subscribe to Locked On NBA. We do a really good job, NBA stories every day, 30 minutes every day. Great group of co-hosts going around the table.
Absolutely, yeah. It's the only thing I don't like about it is that the schedule's packed. I want to get in on that somehow, but otherwise, you're right. It's a fantastic program. So catch Wes Fridays on Locked On NBA. If you're a Heat fan or just curious about the Heat, a damn good team, vastly underrated. I'd never understand why. You're right. It's partly because people sleep on Jimmy Butler. They don't have any like huge marquee players who put up monster numbers in the regular season, but that does not equate to me to a team's overall standing in terms of greatness. They're a great team, man. They're a team. I think that's a huge reason why they're so good. And Spoelstra,
I was looking forward to a potential like Warriors Heat finals because no two teams move the ball and move off the ball as much as the Warriors and the Heat did. So I just thought from an aesthetic standpoint, it'd be a lot of fun, unfortunately. And then I would have gotten an excuse to come back to the Bay Area.
There you go, man. And congrats again. Your early congrats on getting married. That's awesome, man. I'm really happy for you, brother. Wes Goldberg, everybody. You can follow me again on Twitter at WC Goldberg. Thank you, everyone. Later.